Well, it's time to have a look at my colony of banded sugar ants, Camponotus consobrinus, and see what has been happening with them. Let's get into the video. Well, my colony of banded sugar ants, this is Queen Scarlet, has been doing very well. There has been plenty of growth in this colony, and we have lots of workers running around in the outworld. In fact, the outworld has been super busy. Here we can see the workers and even the majors are out here in the outworld, and there is plenty going on. Really can see that they love hanging out in the outworld here, and I'm really happy with the outworld and how it has been made for them to explore. But what I'm finding is a lot of these workers are now hanging out. They're not going into the nest. They're basically treating this outworld as another nest. They must feel rather secure out here, which is fine, which is great, because I get to observe them. But what I'd like to do is have it more like an outworld, where they're only coming out here to scavenge for food, and a bit more natural sort of setup. Here we can see some of the majors. They really do love their sugar water. They are known as sugar ants, so anytime there's any sort of sugar liquid in the outworld, they are getting stuck into it and really drinking it up. Here's one of the majors here, just sitting on the rock, relaxing, waiting. So plenty of growth out here, really happy with how things are going. But in this video, I think it's time to give them a bit of an upgrade. So I'm going to give them a brand new nest, and you're going to love it. And it's a bit of a process, so I encourage you to stick around to see the full journey of how I give them the new nest and how that all goes, the ups and the downs with it, and really see how to expand a colony like this. But the beautiful workers we can see here in the outworld, you can see some of those abdomens, they're quite swollen because they are full of that sugar water and different proteins that they have, which is a nice sign of a healthy colony. So I'm really happy with that and how they are going. And this colony is getting rather large. So here's just an overview. Queen Scarlet's colony here, the outworld, very busy with a lot of workers. And in under these cardboard covers is the nests. The nests that are definitely ready for an upgrade. Here I have a Ozant's plastic or acrylic nest here, and you can see it is chockers. Chockers full of brood and workers. There's not a lot of room to move in here. In fact, not too many workers can go in here now because of the amount of brood, which is fantastic. And the brood is of various sizes, so we have right from the egg all the way up to the cocoons. If we run off that one and back into another nest here, we can see another acrylic nest here, and it is there's a lot more workers in this one, but still plenty of brood. And then we go back across to the original nest that I made for them. This is a Waitong nest, one of my first ones I made. Not a lot of chambers in there, but you can see it is packed full of workers there as well. So there's no room to move at all. Where are the workers going to go? So what that causes is in the outworld, like you see here, workers are just spilling over here because they have nowhere to go. So that's something I want to fix up and correct, because I want it to look a little bit nicer in the outworld, where you don't have as many ants scurrying around out here like this. A big swarm basically in the outworld. So I'm going to work on that, because I think really they're all out there because there's no room in the nest. You can see it. Where are they going to go? There's absolutely nowhere to go in there, and they need some room to grow. And it's really nice to be able to see that this colony is doing so well and developing. Hey, hang on, there's a worker out there. Better collect her. But yeah, there's plenty of nesting space needed for this colony so it can keep growing and keep expanding. So I've got a few ideas. I've got a new nest to give them, and I'm going to move their whole setup. So stick around and see how I go with that. But how nice it is to be able to see inside the nest like this. Really see how a colony does progress, how they look after their brood. And Queen Scarlet, she's in here somewhere. We'll see if we can find her at the same time. So this is the 3 nests that I have. I've gone from that Waitong nest, homemade one, and then into these two acrylic nests as I've had to expand out into those and this outworld. So what am I going to do? Well, I have a new whitong nest, which you see here, and it's a rather large one. Now again, I've made this myself and I've painted it. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. You can see the different chambers. I've tried to make it a bit more interesting with their chambers. And I've got the nice acrylic top, clear acrylic, so I can see into the nest with all these magnets which are holding it down nice and tight. Now one thing that I did overlook was really the hydration ports. You can only see one sponge there, but I have drilled a couple of extra holes so that I can put a little bit of water into there if need be, and it can just soak into the whitong. But I'm going to have to be careful doing that. So yeah, that was a bit of an oversight on me and something to remember for next time. Got a couple of holes here which I'm going to need to be able to connect up all of the nests. I'm not going to get rid of these extra nests, I'm just going to expand the colony. So as you can see here, this new whitong really is about the size of both of those acrylic nests put together, and probably even a little bit more. So hopefully that's enough. So eventually this is what it's going to look like all together. But what I've done over on my ant shelf, I have cleaned up a little bit here, and I've got a whole shelf here ready to go. And there's another shelf down here. I think I might have to clean that up too, because in my master plan I have an idea. You want to know what that idea is? Well, what I'm going to do is have the outworld on one and the nests on the shelf below. But first of all, what we need to do is disconnect all of the nests so I can do the transfer. So here is the tubing that goes into the outworld. What I need to do is I need to disconnect the outworld. So I'm getting my cotton wool ready, and what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to show you the whole process, because I know a lot of people ask, how do I do it? How do you transfer colonies? Well, this is how I do it. I'm not saying it's the best way, but it's the way I do it, and I have a lot of success with it. So basically I'm going to wiggle loose the tubing here that connects all of the nests up to the outworld. There's only the one entrance into the outworld. I'm going to loosen that up, and I've got the cotton wool ready to stuff in both ends. So you can see here, this is the bit I want to disconnect. So I get the cotton wool ready to go, because I don't want them all spilling out and going everywhere, including biting my fingers. So with the cotton wool here, I just get it ready so it's close as, make sure there's no workers in the way, and then just quickly stuff in the cotton wool like so into that nest. You can see a worker come running down that tubing from the outworld and goes running back a little bit scared and wondering what's going on, but I've got time. So I stuff some more cotton wool in there as well, like so. And both ends are plugged up. Now that was a fairly easy disconnect. Actually pretty happy with that, because as you can see, the tubing is full of workers there on the left hand side. But luckily there was no one running over from the outworld. Here we go, we've got a massive major come running over and wanted to give it a little bit of a spray of formic acid and wants to bite that cotton. And now they're going a little bit crazy in the outworld, wondering what is going on. Well, now it's time to disconnect the next nest. Now this tubing piece here goes across from one into the other, and what I need to do is disconnect that. So again, in the same way, what I'm going to do is get my cotton wool ready so that I can stuff the connections. Again, trying not to lose any workers, and you have to be quick because you've got two to plug up, two connections to plug up, one from the nest and one from the tubing. So again, we're going to have a little bit of a go at that and see how successful I am. So far so good. I haven't lost any workers running out yet, but this is rather difficult because again you can see that there are workers everywhere here in both of them and both of the tubings, and it's a little bit difficult here because it's hard up against the other nest. This was only supposed to be temporary, but it's taken me quite a bit of time to be able to get this nest finished, constructed and ready to hook up. So here we go, got that cotton wool ready. Run it through your fingers so you've got a bit of a point so it stuffs in a lot easier into that tubing as well. So that's what I'm doing there, and I have a little bit of a point. So here we go, are you ready? Are you ready? Is it going to be successful? And go! Stuff it in that one first. Again, the workers haven't come near me. Oh, there they go. Oh, they nearly got out. couple were very close to getting out. So there we go, disconnected, safe. This nest is ready to go. So we'll just put that to one side, seeing that it is nice and secure. And the other nest, you can see they're a little bit disturbed over there, wondering what's gone on. A bit of a humidity change when you pull out the connectors. Obviously they've got a humidity gradient in there that keeps them nice and comfortable, and their brood nice and comfortable, and you can see there they're even starting to move their brood. So I'll cover them up now with a piece of cardboard just to calm them down a little bit so it's still dark. Okay, got another connection to change. This one here, now this is going to be difficult because they're already disturbed, and I've got a lot of workers on either side of this tubing. So it's going to require me to be quick again, and I've got the cotton wool ready to go. Oh boy, this is probably the worst part of moving a colony. You never know how it is going to go. So let's get ready here to pop this off. Gently, gently. You want it as loose as possible before you're ready to go, because the last thing you want is to be struggling with it and then it pops off really fast and then you can't get it back again. So you have to be ready. So here we go. Just about to do it, and look at those workers back and forwards, back and forwards. I want to make sure I don't squash any either. But the cotton wool's really good for that because you can push a worker back in. I think I'm just going to have to go for it. The good thing about banded sugar ants is they don't sting. They might have a bite, but they're not going to sting you. So they're really good species for beginners to have. But those majors, they're big. They've got a big head. Here we go, I've opened it up. A couple of workers have got out there, but that's okay. I'm just going to plug it up again. There's one running all over my hands. That's fine. It's not latching onto me yet, and it is only a worker, not a massive major or soldier. And there we go, look at them. Yep, there's a couple there, so I'll just flick it off for the moment, because what I want to do is make sure this the tubing is nice and secure first. I don't want hundreds of workers pouring out. There we go, disconnected. Fantastic. Alright, there we go. So now I have all three nests isolated. We've got a couple of workers there running around on the top. You can just pick them up gently and pop them back into the outworld. That's the beauty, and I do this all the time if I do have a couple of escapees. They're nice and large. When you pick them up with your fingers, you just be gentle, they will survive, and pop them back into the outworld, and they'll run around and find their colony again. So there we go, we have the three nests disconnected from each other, and now I can move on to the next part of this job. So outworld disconnected, three nests disconnected and ready to go. Now I want to transfer them onto the shelves, the new place in my ant room. So here we go, I've got two shelves ready to go. What I'm going to do is on the top shelf I'm going to put the outworld up here, and then below I'm going to put the nests. So this is on the bottom shelf. Here I have the first original whitong nest. This is still going to be the first part of the nest that the colony will enter into. So I'm going to have that placed there. On the top shelf I've put the outworld. It's got the beautiful light in there as well, and below you can see those nests. So what I'm going to do here, it's a little bit tight on that shelf, but it's still enough that I can lift up that lid. Down the bottom here is how we have the nest arrangement that I'm going to set up for the moment. Now one day I probably will trim up the tubing that runs between them, but for the moment this is adequate. So I've hooked up the new whitong nest you can see here, and what I've done is I've hooked up another connector off that as well, but I've plugged it up with cotton because I don't need that at the moment, but I wanted that there ready for expansion. So as you can see here, a few workers have started to run into the new nest and are having a look around, which is great. I want them to explore that as soon as possible. Here we have the other two nests which I'm going to connect off the back. So I've got the whitong here right in the middle because I'm trying to encourage them to get into that new nest and expand, because I want those workers to get out of the outworld and get into the nest to make it look a little bit more natural. So they need that nesting space. So time to connect up all these other nests. I've connected up one of the acrylic nests here. Now it's time for the next nest. I need to remove the adapter off this one because I no longer need it, and I can use that somewhere else. So I'm just going to wiggle off and remove that. Again, this is going to require some cotton wool to be ready to plug up. So let's see how I go with this one. So here we go again. Connecting up this nest in the back here. So again, it's really important just to be nice and quick, have that cotton wool ready. But because the new nest is not full of workers yet, it's quite easy for me just to do that connection through. So you'll see there's a couple of different step downs in the tubing, which is less than ideal, but it works and it's easy enough for the moment. So there we go. We have everything hooked up, as you can see here, which is great. Makes it nice and easy to see. Now, the interesting part, I have to connect the outworld to the nests. So how are we going to do this? Well, I'm going to run a tube all the way from there, all the way to there. So one of the things with this species is that they can climb quite easily. So having a piece of tubing like you see here now, running from the outworld all the way down is pretty easy. And look at them out here in the outworld. They're not happy. I have bumped and knocked them all around and the outworld is swarming full of workers. They haven't quite worked it out, but yet look at them. They're starting to run all the way down the tubing now and into the nest. And it's quite easy for this species. They are very good climbers. So I'm not worried at all. The inside of this tubing is very easy for them to climb on, even in straight, vertical things like what you see there. Very easy for them to climb. So in this way, it's coming from the underground all the way to the top. So I'm really happy with how this has turned out. We've got the new nest all installed. They're running around and exploring that new nest, and you can see the activity that they have here. They know something's happened and they've been disturbed, but you'll start to see now there's a little bit of room in these nests as more and more workers are going out and having a look at that new nest, and the brood has room. Finally, we've got a little bit more room for this colony. More and more workers here are enjoying the outworld, which is fantastic to see. And eventually, hopefully, they like it enough that they'll move in. And this nest will hopefully last for some time and give them plenty of room. And then my overall objective here is to have the outworld not so full of workers like you see right here. Hectic in the outworld. They're cranky, they're looking for me, they want to bite me. So there we go. There's the new setup. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I'd appreciate some comments. If you've hung around this far, I really do appreciate your support in watching my videos. And this colony, Queen Scarlet, the banded sugar ants that she has here, are doing really well. Really happy with how everything has turned out for this transfer, and nice to have a little bit of an update on this colony. Well, a massive thank you to my wonderful Patreons. This is amazing to have you sponsoring the channel and helping me out. Thank you Medical Carcass 9, Gordon C, Ant Nation and the Dragon Bloom. For as little as $1 a month, you can support the channel and you'll get early access to videos, behind the scenes information and plenty of other perks on different levels as well. So I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much. Well, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. There's a video there recommended for you by YouTube, and one that I've picked that I think you might really enjoy. Thanks for watching, and remember, happy and keeping.